accidentally hiked up the Acropolis because I found the back entrance and I just saw a bunch of old statues and I was like, oh, this is cool to check out. And it was like kind of expensive. And I was like, this seems like a lot to check out a few statues. And then I saw a path and I just kept following the path. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, there's Dionysus Theater and there's the Acropolis.
Hello and welcome to the Worldwide Honeymoon Travel Podcast, the podcast that talks about all things couples travel, including destinations, tips, advice, and more. I'm Chris.
I'm Kat.
And this is episode number 209.
Yeah, and we've been doing this for almost 4 years at the end of the month.
Isn't that wild?
That is mind-boggling to me, how far we've come since then. Yeah. The things, traveling pre-COVID, during, or figuring out, traveling at home during COVID and just continuing to navigate travel. And this podcast has seen it all.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Everything. Yeah. Thank you guys for following along, whether you've been here from the beginning or this is your first time tuning in.
Yeah. This was a killer weekend.
Okay. What did we do?
Well, we went to a restaurant that we have not been to for a long time, which was great. Mm-hmm. It was Cleveland Vegan in Cleveland.
No way.
Well, just in case.
Actually, it's in Lakewood.
It's the greater Cleveland area.
Not Cleveland, technically.
Okay. It's going to be that type of episode, is it? No, that was really good. I had country fried steak, which was made out of seitan. Really, really good with mashed potatoes and black pepper gravy. You got the gyro. We had chili cheese fries. Mm-hmm.
All vegan.
So good.
So good.
So good.
Yeah, Christopher has been bugging me about going to get country fried vegan steak. And I was like, look, I grew up on country fried steak. It's made in the skillet. It's just fried. I don't know. We kind of just use hamburger meat and we would fry it in a skillet type thing. And yeah, we just ate that a lot growing up. And I remember being like, not for me.
I have never had country fried steak except for that and the Hungry Man version.
Gross.
Remember?
That's disgusting.
So that's that's my level of comparison. That
and
is
you
my...
were you saw that on the menu and you were like, oh, Hungry Man. It's and if you don't know the Hungry Man, it's like a TV dinner, frozen TV dinner.
Frozen dinners, yeah.
Never you're never truly satisfied after eating one.
Wow.
They're just not that, well, they're not that great. They're okay.
I mean, it's food.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just said you're never fully satisfied. Oh, this was a great meal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but how many meals are you oh, that was a great meal?
I don't know. We do pretty well in the kitchen.
I agree.
Yeah.
Are there is there a frozen meal that you're oh, now that was a good meal? I don't think that's what you're going for.
Stouffer's lasagna, actually. That slaps.
That is not even remotely true.
You've never had Stouffer's lasagna.
Yes, I have.
When?
I have had frozen Stouffer's lasagna.
That slaps.
It does not.
It's so good.
It does not.
That actually is really good.
No, it is not.
My mom, anytime we would go grocery shopping, or maybe it would probably be once a month or every other month, she was just I don't feel like cooking tonight after we go grocery shopping and do all this stuff. And she would get a Stouffer's lasagna meal, get some Texas toast garlic bread. So good. Get a little salad with some ranch dressing. Ah.
Dressing?
Dressing.
Oh boy.
So good.
Here we go. Yeah, so that was really good. I had 2 killer runs this weekend, which was a lot of fun. Tottenham won this morning. I made waffles.
Those were really good. That was nice to wake up to.
We made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out of Belgian waffles, which was great. Mm-hmm. Yesterday was a ton of fun, too. Mm-hmm. We did a tri-dive. This is basically a test scuba dive. You have all the gear. You're scuba-ing, but
you learn some basics.
You are scuba-ing in we did it in a pool.
On the shallow end.
On the shallow end.
Yeah, we saw the deep end, and we were allowed to play in the shallow end after a while, scuba and swimming and stuff. But they wouldn't let us go to the deep end.
That was probably for the best.
Probably. That's the more advanced class, the actual certification class. You get to do that.
I really wanted to go into the deep end. Because I was like, I'm a tall guy in general, and I had to have a lot of weight added to my vest so that I didn't float to the top or like have the top of my head sticking out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like I would just get like more of an experience in the deep end. And I think I quickly proved myself as quite masterful of the scuba techniques, wouldn't you say?
Well, Christopher just like sat most of the time, and he made the hand signal that he was cold a lot of the time.
I was.
So here I am, like swimming all over the place.
You were a little fish.
I was swimming all over the place. I was messing around with my goggles to see if that actually worked. Guys,
it does.
Guys, I had no idea, because if you ever go snorkeling and you're like, oh crap, like you gotta resurface and clean out your goggles and re-put them back on when they get sort of foggy, or if you get water in your goggles. When you scuba, when you're like 30 feet in the water, you can't just go up to the surface like really quickly and do that because of decompression sickness. So they taught us a trick that if you're in the water to clean it, and you just kind of like open the bottom part and you blow through your nose, and it takes out the water, and you keep blowing through your nose, and then you pop it back on, and it worked. And I kept playing around with that, and like
I did too. That was a really useful
that was so useful
skill.
to know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a lot of fun playing around. We had like these little like Nerf football things you could throw underwater, or darts. I was swimming around like a fish. I was posing, and then Christopher's just sitting there saying he's cold underwater.
No, I wasn't just
around,
doing
hanging
that.
Out. We did throw the football at each other a few times.
Yeah, we did. And like I did a few laps back and forth in the shallow end, but like I was ready to like go in the deep end, if that makes sense.
Well, I was hoping we would get to go to the deep end, but he didn't really tell us like how to actually like sink slowly to the bottom like you would when you're going diving.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's the more advanced classes, not the try dive kiddie class, essentially.
I'll tell you what, they hooked me. I saw the deep end. I couldn't go in it, and I'm like, I'm going to have to pay to go in that deep end.
And there was a class, an actual like scuba certification class going on, and they did go to the deep end after a while, and it looked really cool. So
yeah,
we'll have to see.
We will.
But I'm thinking we might go that route and get certified.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Definitely something we want to do. I think that's a lot of fun.
I do too.
Yeah.
What was your highlight?
I think definitely the diving, learning some basics. It really made it less intimidating when you started learning some stuff. Now I know we have a lot more to learn if we're to get certified, but it really helped kind of learning some of the basics, some of the hand signals, and it's a lot easier than you think, I guess, going underwater and doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Was that your highlight?
That is my highlight so far for the weekend, but I will say
Pepe.
We are making oh my gosh. That is probably, I don't know if I have a more favorite food than that food. It is so good.
Yeah. You can't, cheesy pasta with pepper, chef's kiss.
I can't wait.
Oh yeah. Also, so I go to Champaign in this will be a month from when this podcast goes live. And I'm going with a friend of mine, and she was messaging the other day, and she was like, hey, have you started like booking and like looking into things? And I had planned out like the 7 days that I'm spending in Paris, because I'm getting all sorts of content in before the Paris Olympics next year. I'm just doing a bunch of like running around the town, seeing the smaller museums, finding who really reigns supreme when it comes to hot chocolate. I've got like 4 contenders that I'm looking at. Different things like that. So I can write about it for the Olympics and get that out. And write the Olympics guide, because that's something I want to get out too. And then, but yeah, I started looking at Champagne finally, because I hadn't. I did not realize that Champagne is definitely a little bit more expensive than other wine regions in France, I have found.
I don't know how this was a surprise to you.
No, because I've been to Burgundy. We've been to the Loire Valley. In Provence, there were literally some places you could just show up at a champagne house when they're open, or not champagne house, a wine vineyard or whatever, and do a tasting, and it's like free.
Yeah, but
it's free if you buy a couple bottles or something. It's like insanely inexpensive to do wine tasting, and wine is cheap when you're in France.
But think of like the price of champagne, and like how much more like the production for sparkling wine is far different than still.
No, it's true. And you do have like Taittinger or Taittinger. You have Moet Chandon, you have Veuve, you've got the big champagne houses, the big daddy ones.
The big papas.
The big papas, right there. And yeah, it's a little bit more organized. I'll have to write we'll have to do an episode about champagne when I get back, because it's not as casual as just, oh, you can show up and get a tour of the cellars and a tasting, or, you know, just go in for a casual tasting. Because I reached out, I was like, look, I mean, I want to do a few tours of cellars, but after a while, we might just want to taste some different champagnes that we can't get back home. And some places like Moet Chandon, they're like, you have to have a tour, or you have to pre-book a tasting ahead of time. Even if you're just doing a tasting, you can't just wander in and do it. So I started arranging all of those and figuring that out too, and getting dinner reservations and stuff. So I'm getting excited about that. That'll be fun. Excited to talk more about that afterwards. Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to say before we talk about today's episode?
I think that's it.
All right. So last week we started what's going to be a 5-part series about the top 50 countries and U.S. states to spend a 10-day trip in. Okay, so you're traveling for 10 days. Which countries throughout the world and which states within the U.S. all combined are the best? So we each came up with our own list of 50. We agreed on 41 of them, which is that's
pretty good.
That is pretty good. We did North America last week, and now we are going to do Europe. Both of us had 11 countries in Europe out of our 50, 8 of which were the same, and we're going to start with our 8 that were the same, and then we'll each talk about the 3 that were different. So why don't you go ahead and start off with the first one that we matched up on, and this is no surprise.
Yeah, speaking of champagne earlier, France, always a big country that people, especially if you're a first-timer visiting the continent of Europe, you typically hit up Paris, especially in France, and you could seriously spend an entire 10 days in Paris and still not see and do everything in Paris, but so many ways to do a 10-day itinerary in France. And I actually just finished writing an article for France Voyager about 10 different 10-day itineraries throughout France. So lots of options. You have Provence, you have Paris, the Alsace region, which is fantastic around the holiday season because they've got fantastic Christmas markets. You have the southwest of France, so you've got like Bordeaux, and then you've got the Basque country, the Pyrenees, the Alps. So you've got Chamonix, you've got Annecy, you've got Grenoble, Normandy, Brittany, so many places. The Loire Valley, where you can stay in castles or chateaux and things like that. Lots of different ways to do it. Yeah, so if you guys are interested in that, I have a whole 10-day itinerary, like 10 ways to spend 10 days in France. Yeah, even Corsica you could spend just 10 days on, which is just an island in the Mediterranean that is French. So yeah, France. What about any thoughts? I
mean, Paris is my favorite city in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a no-brainer for me. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's also like if you start naming countries that people want to go to or have a desire to go to, I think that France, or at least like Paris, will come to mind for people.
Paris, maybe the south of France or something.
Yeah. So this was a pretty easy inclusion. Number 2 is a country that I have never been to, that you have been to.
I have done a 10-day trip to this country.
And that is Greece. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think the big draws of Greece are, number 1, the Greek islands, right? And then also like Athens, the Acropolis. Like there's just a lot of history there. A lot of history, a lot of natural beauty. The like I said, the islands there. How did you spend 10 days?
So I spent, I want to say 3 days in Athens, and Athens is just incredible. I stayed in the Plaka neighborhood. It's also fun to explore that area. It's like the old historic neighborhood. There's the Monastiraki neighborhood, which is really cool too. Yeah, I mean, I hiked up to that big church that's on this hill. I accidentally hiked up the Acropolis because I found the back entrance and I just saw a bunch of old statues and I was like, oh, this is cool to check out. And it was like kind of expensive. And I was like, this seems like a lot to check out a few statues. And then I saw a path and I just kept following the path. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, there's Dionysus Theater and there's the Acropolis. And then I realized that makes sense why they were charging that much for a ticket. So that was just incredible. But, and there are beaches just outside of like Athens. I even took a train to a beach one day. Not as great. The beaches there are not nearly as nice. They're a little bit littered. It's not the clear, beautiful waters that you picture. So definitely don't go to Athens as like a beach destination by any means. Just take the ferry and head out to the islands and you're going to be amazed. You know, I think there are so many great ones. I know that Santorini is very popular. Mykonos is popular, but there are also great places like Corfu, Paros, Naxos, Zakynthos, Rhodes, Ios. There's just so many. And then also on the mainland of Greece, if you go to northern Greece, you have Thessaloniki, and you also have the Matera with these really cool cliffs and mountainy areas. So, and monasteries up there too. So very interesting country. A lot of history.
A lot of history.
And lots of gorgeous beaches. And I mean, it is a great beach destination with all the islands everywhere to go island hopping. And it is a lovely place.
Great wine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell them about the Santorini, like how they grow wine in Santorini, we learned.
The, is it the Assyrtiko grape, I think, if I'm remembering
so.
correctly? But they grow it not on like a trellis system or anything like that, but in a circle. It almost looks like a wreath. Mm-hmm. And the grapes grow on the inside of it so that they're protected from the winds.
Yes,
really
Greece
interesting.
Is very windy.
Yeah.
Don't wear flowy short dresses around Greece because you're going to constantly be trying to pull that down, or wear shorts under those dresses or something because it's a windy place. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 3 is a country that you have been to, that you love. We've also been there together, and that is Hungary.
Yeah.
Specifically, when I think of Hungary, I think of Budapest because that's where we went. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I really did.
We spent 4 days there, and I feel like we could have easily spent a lot more time in Budapest. There's a lot to see and do.
Agreed. We did some of the baths, which were, I mean, that was an incredibly relaxing afternoon.
Yeah, Rudis baths I highly recommend.
Yes.
Because it's just sort of perched up on the hill. They have an old bath that you can go inside that is co-ed, I believe, on the weekends. We went on our Friday afternoons through like Saturday. Absolutely stunning. Gorgeous bath. And then you can go to their rooftop bath. And and you get a drink and hang out there, and you can watch the sunset while over the Danube River, and it's absolutely stunning.
It was very nice. Yeah. We did a cruise on the Danube. Mm-hmm. We went there around the holidays, so we also got to experience the Christmas markets, but we experienced Fisherman's Bastion.
Your dad experienced a chimney cake for the first time?
Yes. I mean, go there for that.
Yeah,
on its own.
langosh.
Yes.
Which is just like a fried doughy bread topped with sour cream and cheese and other toppings that you'd like. Oh, so good.
But the ruin pubs and just like the atmosphere there, it was just a really... it was a city that I really enjoyed. Yeah, it is unique. It's a little gritty. It's a little grungy, but there's also beauty all around.
Tons of beauty, beautiful architecture, a lot of good culture. I mean, just fantastic. We didn't even really go to like a ton of the museums.
No, we didn't.
There's a ton to see and do around Budapest. So you could definitely spend a lot of time just in Budapest. But yeah, I mean, there's some great lakes. There's Lake Balaton, which is famous. It's got a lot of adventure sports. People go skydiving there. You can go hiking and biking in the mountains and lots of water sports. There's the caves of Egetelek. I think that's how you say it. There's even caves underneath of Budapest where you can go. Remember we looked at that?
Yes.
Where you could go exploring in the caves underneath of Budapest. Lots of thermal baths and bath towns, so it's not just unique to Budapest. So you could kind of go to smaller towns and check out that too. So lots to see and do in Hungary.
Absolutely. Yeah. Number 4 is a country that has been near the top of your list for a while now, and that is Iceland.
And I regret remember when WoW Air used to exist and they had a direct flight from Cleveland to Iceland, and we were like, oh my gosh, no brainer. We have to go to Iceland at some point because we have a direct flight on WoW Air, so it's really cheap. And we never did, and then they went out of business. And so now that direct link to Iceland is gone, but definitely want to go and do a road trip around Iceland. The Ring Road would be amazing. But of course, spend some time in Reykjavik. There's lots of thermal baths. There's the Diamond Beach, cool mountains and peninsulas and hot springs. And
I believe there's scuba diving.
there is a place to go snorkeling. I'm not sure if you can scuba there or not. I bet you can.
Or was I... Maybe I'm thinking snorkeling.
Yeah, I was talking about this yesterday, actually. It's between two tectonic plates, and it's called Silfra, and you can go snorkeling between two tectonic plates, and that's so cool. I would love to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's
land
really cool.
of fire and ice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Number 5 is Ireland.
And what would you like to do in Ireland for 10 days?
Just exist.
No. Just hang out at a pub.
No,
you could do that for 10 days.
You probably could.
Your liver won't thank you for it, but you'll probably make a lot of local friends just hanging out at a pub for 10 days.
Yes. No, when I think of Ireland, I think of road trips, right? Going all around and stopping in some of the smaller towns. You have been to Ireland. I have not.
And I've only been to Dublin, so...
Okay.
Not a whole lot. I just kind of flew in for a quick weekend trip while I was studying abroad.
What did you do when you were in Dublin?
We ended up going to the Dublin Zoo at one point, but Dublin's pretty small.
The Dublin Zoo?
Yeah.
How was that different? Like,
it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
But there's also, you've got Trinity College. You can go to the Book of Kells, and the college is like really cool. You can go see the library. There's we went to the oldest bar in Ireland, and we went for a night, and they tell you old tales and have a traditional Irish dinner. We went to the storehouse, the Guinness storehouse. Fantastic. I highly recommend going there, especially pouring yourself a pint and then going up to the rooftop. They have a bar at the top. It's not a rooftop because it's all enclosed, but it's all glass, and you get a 360 view of Dublin. It's fantastic, their bar. And it's just a very interactive, interesting brewery to go to, especially if you do the tour. There's the, I'm blanking now on the whiskey. There's a whiskey factory you
Jameson?
can go to. Jameson, yes. You can go to the Jameson factory if you want to. Lots to do in Dublin. But in Ireland, you kind of want to get out and about. You want to go to Galway. You want to see the Cliffs of Moher. You want to, see the Ring of Kerry or the Dingle Peninsula. Tons of castles. Especially Blarney Castle's a very popular one where you kiss the Blarney Stone. Yeah. Lots of old ruins. Lots of legends. I mean, it's just really cool. And there's even the chance to stay in castle hotels. So if you want to stay in a castle, sign me up. So yeah, Ireland is definitely a cool place to visit.
Number 6 is Italy. We visited Italy last year. Mm-hmm. I loved Italy. Absolutely loved it. We spent time in Milan, which I would not necessarily have to go back to.
But Milan has a couple things, but it has a big airport. So a lot of the time, if you want to start from north to south, you'll probably want to fly into Milan.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the time that we spent in Alba. Mm-hmm. That was specifically for Piedmont, mm-hmm. And Barolo and Barbaresco, Nebbiolo, all of that. We also spent time in Bologna. We spent time in Modena. We also spent time in Rome. I loved the entirety of that trip.
And we didn't even do any beach time.
We didn't.
And it's a peninsula.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so much of Italy that we didn't even scratch the surface, right? We didn't go to Venice. We didn't go to Florence. We didn't go to the Amalfi. We didn't go to Sicily.
You can go to the Cinque Terre.
Yeah, any of that. I loved Italy. I can't... it's one of those trips that is hard to put into words, right? We ate and drank so well there. Mm-hmm. And it was just an incredibly romantic trip. Mm-hmm. As well. So that is a place that still has my heart. Yeah.
And I know my parents want to do a full 2 weeks in Italy. And I'm so excited. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm inviting myself, which they always like when I come anyway, because I've been to some of the places that they want to go to. Like when they came to the Alsace, they were like, this is great. You like handled everything. So I'm sure that they'll be like, yeah, sure, come along. But
there you go.
I'm like, we'll spend 2 weeks in Italy.
Awesome.
Twist my arm.
Number 7 is a place that we almost went to instead of Italy.
We were trying to decide between these two countries.
That is Spain. I have never been to Spain. Again, you have.
And I did a 10-day trip to Spain when I was studying abroad, because we had 3 random weeks throughout the year that we would just get a week off of class. And so our first one was in February, and we were like, let's go to Spain. It's pretty warm there. It snowed in Barcelona.
Oh my gosh.
But it was warm in Sevilla. So we did Barcelona, Sevilla, and Madrid. So kind of the 3 main big places to go to. But there's a lot to see and do in Spain. I'm still regret not going to Granada and seeing the Alhambra.
I cannot believe that.
I'm so sad, but none of my friends wanted to. And like as an adult now, I would have just done it.
Sure.
But when you're 21 years old and all your friends want to like hang out and like do other things, you're kind of like, okay, well,
I'll
go
drink.
A little bit. Next to the White Tower, there's this like beautiful castle looking tower along the river in Sevilla. And I think we just like bought some wine and some snacks and just like chilled there and ate and drank.
Oh man.
So, class, nothing but class.
Yes.
But yeah, in Spain, I would love to go to Valencia and Granada and Rioja.
I would love to go to Rioja.
Pretty cool.
Especially Ribera del Duero.
Yeah.
That is...
we looked into that, too, for the 10-day trip is going to Rioja during that time. So we may have to do that.
Agreed. I still can't believe you didn't go to the Alhambra.
I know. I'm so sad about it. It's fine.
And then number 8, which is the last country that we agreed upon, is the United Kingdom. Mm-hmm. Now, when you listed the United Kingdom... Were you thinking England, or were you like, was that kind of like a sneaky way to get Scotland in there too?
Well, I remember like in 2020 and then 2021, before the pandemic, we had fully planned a 10-day trip to just Scotland.
Right.
Because we had friends that were going to get married there. Obviously the pandemic happened, so the plans changed. I feel bad for them too, because they ended up getting married in 2021 in the summertime, and they planned their wedding in 6 weeks in Chicago when they were supposed to get married in Edinburgh, or they were supposed to get married in Scotland. And like they were waiting and waiting and waiting, hopefully thinking that the travel bans would lift. And they lifted like 2 weeks after their wedding in Chicago, after they arranged everything.
Unreal.
I know. I feel bad. And they were going to get married in a castle. It was cool. So yes, another place where you can go to what?
I don't think that answered my question. When you listed the UK...
We wanted to go to Scotland, yes.
Right. But when you listed the UK, were you thinking more England, or were you thinking, like, is that a way to kind of like sneak in Scotland?
Kind of. I sort of have like 2 different options for the UK. You could either do like, you could probably spend all 10 days in London and be like, wow, London, because there's a ton to do in London.
Right.
But I think London, you've got the Cotswolds. That would be kind of neat to go out to Cornwall. That area is pretty cool. The Lake District, and do a bunch of hiking and stuff like that. So that is like a really cool itinerary you could probably do in 10 days in England. Or you could go up to Scotland and spend an entire 10 days going to Edinburgh and the Isle of Skye. And we were going to do Oban, because Chris really loves Oban, or Scotch. We're going to go to Inverness and Loch Ness and Loch Lomond and Glasgow and Speyside, and we had a whole itinerary. And then we had also talked about just going and then doing Islay, which is another whiskey like island place. Yeah. What could have been? Well, I mean, it's still on my I'm manifesting it. Like, it's gonna happen. Eventually.
I want London to also happen for me.
But I also have a friend of mine that we might be going to the Paris Olympics, and she's a big fan of the UK travel. I'm a big fan of France travel, and I was like, you show me your love, I'll show you mine. And we might go to Edinburgh.
Oh, cool.
At least, or a little bit of Scotland, and then go to Paris. So
awesome.
We'll see.
All right. So the 8 countries that we agreed upon that were both in our top 50 throughout the world were France, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Spain, and the UK. Mm-hmm. We disagreed on, we each had 3 on our list that were not on the other person's, and I'll I'll go ahead and start.
Yeah.
The first one that made my list that did not make your list is the Czech Republic. And when I think about this, I first and foremost think about Prague, right? With Old Town Square, the astronomical clock, the Charles Bridge, Prague Castle. Prague is another city that just is stunning to me. We spent a few days there. I could have spent far more. So, excuse me.
Great brewery scene.
Yeah. So that is a country that I think for Prague on its own earns a spot in my top 50. What was your first country that did not make my list?
So you just had Prague, 10 days in Prague, nothing else in the Czech Republic?
Well, I mean, like, I didn't like map it out for like a 10-day itinerary, but I was like, Prague was like the big draw to me.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a big one.
Yeah.
Mine, I'm so surprised you didn't pick this, but Norway. I would love to go see the fjords. There's lots of great hiking in Norway. My biggest thing is I really want to go to Tromsø and see the Northern Lights. And there's like dog sledding and whale watching and all sorts of fun things. And also the TikToker, the lady who's like, hi, my name's Cecilia and I live on an island close to the North Pole. She lives in Svalbard. Svalbard would be so cool to see too. That'd be hard to get to, but they have polar bears and reindeer and all kinds of fun things. That would be a really cool place to check out. But yeah, I feel like Norway just has like lots of adventure. And that's not even like Oslo. I didn't even talk about the capital city. But yeah, Tromsø, Northern Lights, fjords, hiking.
Yeah.
It's cool country, it looks like. Yeah.
The second one that made my list that did not make yours, and I was shocked about this, is Germany.
Yeah.
I don't know how Germany didn't make your list.
It's not that I'm like, oh, don't go there. Obviously, I'm glad you have it on
That's
your list.
all
That's
you
like
say about Germany is don't go.
No, I did.
No, but like, I mean,
like Germany a lot. I'm glad it's on your list. It's like kind of an honorable mention for me.
There's no honorable mentions.
Okay.
This is the top 50. I have spent one day in Germany. I enjoyed it immensely. It was in Cologne.
They go hard on the Christmas market.
They do. But I mean, also like Neuschwanstein or like the Black Forest. I mean, you can go on and on and on about Germany. And I'm like, how did that not make
Munich's fantastic.
Yes.
And Berlin and Munich are like polar opposite cities. They're so interesting.
How did this not make your list?
I don't know.
You having some regrets?
Blanked.
You forgot about Germany?
No.
I forgot about Dre.
Okay.
What's your second one?
My second one is Switzerland.
Okay.
Just a big adventure place. I mean, you've got obviously skiing or hiking and trekking and likes. The Matterhorn.
Hold on.
Did
you say it's a big adventure place? They got the skiing, the hiking, the drinking.
I didn't say that.
I think you did. I could have sworn that you said.
I'm sure they do. I mean, the food, all the hearty Alpine food.
You
so
love
good.
Alpine food.
I do, especially when I was living in Grenoble and going to Annecy. Like, we're pretty close to Switzerland. So, like, we've had very similar cuisines. And lots of lakes. Again, adventure sports, people will go paragliding or skydiving and bungee jumping and, yeah, skiing, biking. I mean, just so much stuff to see and do. In Switzerland. And then you also have some cool cities, like you've got like Interlaken, you got Geneva, Basel, Lucerne, cool lakes. Beautiful place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun fact, I almost studied abroad in Switzerland. At Neuchâtel, University of Neuchâtel. And
that was fun.
Oh, stop. You're just making fun. Did you know that?
No, I don't think you've ever told me that.
Oh, I was deciding between Grenoble École de Management or
yeah, now you have to follow that up with
Neuchâtel.
Neuchâtel. Hold on. Compare those two again.
Grenoble École de Management et Neuchâtel. And Neuchâtel, the only reason why I didn't do it, because I wanted somewhere sort of central that I could kind of explore the rest of Europe. And I was deterred from Neuchâtel because they were like, so you know your main study abroad thing, like most people that go to study abroad, yes, you're not
studying,
you're taking your classes, you're getting credit for it, but like you're kind of there to like sort of enjoy the place that you're living in and to travel. And Neuchâtel, they were like, it's very like you have a lot of work. Like they work you a lot at Neuchâtel. Like you're not going to be traveling and having nearly as much fun as if you would like go somewhere else. And I was like, you're right. As even though I was like, I would take hard classes and I was very ambitious in school, like when I was studying abroad, I'm there to like explore and like have fun. And Grenoble was not too terribly challenging. I mean, I took business classes like international finance and like, yeah, international business law.
Wow.
I took a class about the EU.
Wow.
And how that was formed and everything. Yeah, and French. We had to take French while we were there and stuff. So, but it was not that challenging, and or wasn't too terribly.
French or school?
No, like the school. It wasn't like. School is different there. Like we didn't have homework all the time. Like we would have like maybe a midterm and a final, and that's like most of your grade, and then like a group project, and that's it. Like we did not have a ton of homework to do. So that's why people could, you know, go and travel on the weekends and like do things, because you're not constantly bogged down by like studying and homework, because most of the time people would just study right before the exams. Like the week before exams you have like more time to study, and that's what we would do, and then we would take our exams and pass, and it was pass fail. So it didn't matter,
gosh.
like, because the way that it transferred over back home, it wasn't like you got A's, B's, or C's. It was just pass fail.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
My 11th country, and the third that did not make your list, is Portugal. Have you been to Portugal?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Where did you go in Portugal?
I just went to Lisbon, and we took a day trip out to Sintra.
Okay. So Sintra is something that I have on my list.
It's really cool.
I was going to say, so can you talk a little bit about it as someone who's been there, rather than me just like describing what you would do?
Yeah, we took a day trip where we did go to, I think it was the Cabo de Roca or something, and it was like the most western point in Europe, in continental Europe.
Okay.
And there's a beach there, so that was really cool. And then we went to Sintra, which has like have you noticed like the mossy little brick stone tunnel that kind of goes into the earth a little bit? Like we got to do that, which was cool. And there's palaces,
castles, gardens.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. It was a beautiful place to go and explore.
But also there's the Douro, there's Porto.
Mm-hmm.
I know a few people, your parents included, who have been to Porto. Okay? And
they still talk about it.
They do
all the time.
They have
loved
been.
It.
They have gone other places in Europe, and they are like, "This is the place."
Yeah, because in 2019 we planned a whole trip for them. Like me and my siblings got paid for their plane tickets and everything over, and we were like, "Surprise! This is what we're doing. Like this is your big gift for the year, for Christmas, birthdays, anniversary, all that stuff." And we sort of planned out this trip for them, and they did Paris. Because moms always wanted to go there. They did Munich during Oktoberfest. They got to go to Oktoberfest, which my dad bought. Lederhosen. Excuse me. They had a blast at that, and then they also went to go to Neuschwanstein and stuff like that. Then they flew. Then they went to Porto.
Yeah.
And they loved absolutely, and that was just kind of like an extra one that we threw in. And then they spent like 2 days in London just to fly back home. And they loved Porto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Portugal. What's the third one for you?
I really wish I would have put Portugal on here, but
yeah,
I'm really, really interested in this country, Turkey.
That's cool. A good one.
Yeah, because Istanbul is a really big city, so you could definitely spend 10 days there, but really cool, interesting, exciting city. I really want to go to Cappadocia, like that area, and like do the hot air balloon.
I was going to ask if you want to do the hot air balloon.
Stay in a cave hotel, see the whirling dervishes. Have you heard of that?
I have.
Yeah, so cool. Really cool area.
What are the whirling dervishes?
So the whirling dervishes, it's like they wear like a special outfit, and they do a lot of like when they do their dancing, it's like they twirl and whirl kind of with it, but it's really cool, and it looks really neat. I did a terrible job of explaining that, but it's way cooler
I can picture it.
than I can tell you. Yeah, I mean, there's the pools in Pamukkale. I'm gonna butcher this. Pamukkale. I'm not saying that right. Ephesus. So a lot of really cool historical places.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so interested. I really want to go to Turkey and spend like a 10-day trip there.
Okay. Yeah. So my 11 were France, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Spain, the UK, Czech Republic, Germany, and Portugal. And yours were France, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Spain, the UK, Norway, Switzerland, Turkey. Is Europe one of the continents that you look at and you're like, man, there are some like tough snubs, like some surprising snubs that are not on the list?
I mean, Germany and Portugal for me.
But how about on neither of our list? Like Austria? Belgium?
I thought about Austria. Oh my
I did
gosh,
too.
Belgium. We spent some time in Belgium, but that's the thing.
Hold on. Croatia?
Oh.
Vatican City?
Well, you can't spend 10 days in Vatican City.
No, you
literally
can't.
seen everything.
Right.
Vatican City.
But I mean,
within
like,
a day.
Yeah, I understand that. But like, it's also like, I mean,
Liechtenstein? What were we thinking?
Wow.
No, kidding.
You're just going to blast the good people from Liechtenstein?
No, I'm sure
you could spend 10 days there.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
Yeah.
Well, people live there, so I'm assuming you could spend more than 10 days there.
Let's not assume.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's like some big names that are left off here, right?
Yeah. But the thing is, you can't combine. And I feel like Europe has a lot of very small countries, like Belgium and the Netherlands.
Yes.
You could easily combine in a 10-day trip. In fact, I believe I did that, where we went to Brussels and Amsterdam for like a really long weekend. So it wasn't necessarily 10 days, but you could spend 10 days doing like half the time in Belgium and half the time in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland.
Yeah.
Poland is huge. Yeah, I went to Warsaw and I could have easily gone to Krakow, Gdansk. So many neat places.
Yeah.
Sweden.
I mean,
Finland. I mean, we could just list out everything at this point. But
so here's Europe.
Yeah, so Europe.
But you brought up a really good point about Europe being a great continent for like combo trips.
Yes.
Right? It almost, like, when I think of it, like, if there's going to be, like, a comparable area of the U.S., for instance, I think of the Northeast, right? Like, with Vermont and New Hampshire and Massachusetts and Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, like, that area, that's, like, a really good area for a combo trip as well.
10-day road trip, yeah.
Yeah. So, but that wasn't the rules for this.
That was against the rules. It had to be a single country or U.S. state.
Yes.
So...
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, you could definitely.
Here we are.
That's why eventually I'd like to maybe live in Europe for a little bit so that we can see more stuff.
There we go.
Because there's a lot to see.
Anything else that you want to say about Europe?
I think that's it.
All righty.
Do you have a favorite country in here? I guess I can guess for you. Italy.
Excuse me. I do love Italy.
You just got choked up about it.
I'm thinking of the cacio e pepe.
Oh my gosh, that we're making for dinner.
Yes, and my heart is a flutter.
I mean, we bought the nice noodles too.
A flutter.
Okay. All right. I think that's all we have to say about the top places to visit in Europe for a 10-day trip. But we'd love to know your thoughts, or if you have any great episode ideas, you can feel free to reach us on Twitter at WWHoneymoon, Instagram at Worldwide Honeymoon, or email kat@worldwidehoneymoon.com. But thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to rate and review our podcast. It takes less than a few minutes and really helps other people find us. Also, if you're enjoying this awesome free information on both the blog and podcast, when you're booking your next trip, head over to worldwidehoneymoon.com/resources and use the links provided. We earn a small commission at no cost to you when you book through these links, and these are all brands and companies we know, love, and use, like Skyscanner for finding the best flight prices, World Nomads for the best travel insurance, TripAdvisor for hotel bookings and reviews, and even Amazon for all of your travel purchases.
Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Wherever you are, wherever you go, remember to make every day a worldwide honeymoon.